No, my mom has never told me why they got a divorce. My mom has only said, your father is a great father, he's a great man. I have the most respect for him. An event happened to where I couldn't be with him anymore. I'm Alex Camacho. I'm currently 17 years old, and when I was 5, my parents got a divorce. Well, one of the first memories I have with my parents, I was about 4 years old, I think. My mom was cooking dinner in the kitchen. My dad was just sitting at the dining room table. She had plopped me up on the counter, and my mom was just having me like hold celery and stuff, and she was cooking. My dad was just reading the paper, talking to my mom. They were laughing, having a good time. I didn't think anything of it. My parents were fine. Like, I never thought there was anything wrong. I was just a small child, you know, living life. It was fun. My parents always had a smile on their face. We always went to fun places. Me and my dad flew kites. Me and my mom went shopping. You know, normal family things. I don't know if I got a sense that there was something wrong, you know, with my mom and my dad. I mean, I know I was in kindergarten, and I want to assume that's when things started to go wrong. But I was such a small child, I just thought, oh, this is normal. But I can remember there was one fight. I think I woke up in the middle of the night, I had a bad dream, and I walked out to go say, Mom, like, what's wrong? And before I got to her room, I heard screaming and a lamp just being thrown. And I freaked out, ran to my room, and just hid in my bed. I didn't know what happened. And now, looking back at it, I can see that was probably one of the fights they were having that led up to the divorce. But I remember at one point, there was a time where the house started to be packed up, and I didn't know why. I thought, oh, we're all moving, we're good. This is how it's gonna be. So I can vividly remember the entire house being wiped out and just one TV, me and my brother just sitting there watching TV, waiting for my mom to pack her things to get in the car. And then from that point on, my dad wasn't living with me and my mom. I did have a little confusion because I wasn't sure why my dad wasn't coming with us. Like, why he had a separate car and why he didn't follow us to the apartment.
You know, she was the one who actually suggested when you were 5 years old, and you were the one who said, you know, Mommy, I think it's best if Daddy goes to another house and you go to another house. Well, that's when I made the decision. I said, you know what, if my 5-year-old is telling me that we should get divorced, we should. And that's exactly what happened, you know. I mean, obviously we were going through a very rough situation, and I think she sensed everything.
I didn't know when the divorce happened, but I knew there was something wrong. The minute I went to a new school, the minute we were in a new apartment, the minute Dad wasn't there anymore. My mom would always care for us, but there was always a little edge I had to put. I kind of had to be the example to my little brother since my dad wasn't around and my mom was always working. So after the school day ended, my mom would come home, she'd start dinner, and I'd have to help my brother with homework. I always tried to help my mom out. I was very helpful. If you were to go ask any of my family members, to be like, oh, Alex, she always tried to follow along her mom, try to help her out, clean the dishes, yet she was only 6 years old at this point. I just always had this instinct, I have to help Mom. I always have to help her out, I want to make her happy. I guess subconsciously, I wanted to keep some kind of love, some kind of like connection between me and my mom. Not that I thought there was something not there, but I've always wanted to keep things together, you know. Being with my dad was fun. We always were on a little adventure. I can remember, you know, going to bed. He'd always tell us these crazy bedtime stories, and they were always really happy, and it always involved the three of us. And you know, during the day on the weekends, we go to the movies, we go to the zoo, we go to the pool. It was always like a field trip with him, so it was always very pleasant to be with him. There was nothing wrong with being away from mom and being with him. Yeah, I thought it was very normal that my mom wouldn't come with us when we were with our dad. I just thought, okay, it's dad's turn now, and then we have to go back to mom and then go to school. There was nothing like, oh God, we have to go to dad, or oh God, we have to go to mom. It was just the way it was.
But it was in Palmer, so they were going to a Montessori school, a private school. You remember that school?
No, yeah, I remember.
Yeah?
Randazzo.
Randazzo.
Yeah. I guess the whole situation felt very normal. You know, going to school, seeing all these kids. We never had to show our parents off, except I remember specifically this one family night. I wanted to impress this one little boy that I liked, Peter, and I was like, I'm gonna show my mom off, my mom's coming. And then I got there, and all the little kids had a mom and a dad show up for them. And I was the only kid with just my mom. And it didn't process like, where's like, oh, now I have to show dad, like, where's dad? Is dad coming? Or mom's like, no, dad's not coming. And I'm like, okay, I guess he's not. There's something wrong. If everyone else has a mom and dad together, why isn't my mom and dad here? Why is it just my mom? So I had a sense of like, this is not right. Like, you're not living the same life as an ordinary child.
And being away from home is just, for me it's hard because I have missed the most important days of my children, seeing Alex and Tian growing. And I do this because I love it and because I believe in justice. And I want my son, my daughter, and my great-grandchildren some year, sometime away from now to know who I was and what I did it for. I love you, Mom.
I love you too. Oh. My dad was enlisted in the Navy before my brother was born. As I transitioned into middle school, he had established himself as active. So he was an active US Navy SEAL, and he had to be sent away for multiple months, even years at a time. And when I was in elementary school, and I did see him on like school days, he'd always sit down and make sure I did all my homework. But once I transitioned to middle school, he was sent on one of, not his first assignments, but his first assignments as a middle schooler. And it broke my heart. I didn't know how to function. I was like, Dad, like, where's Dad? Like, I have work today. I want to do stuff with him. And my mom was like, well, he went away. You're not going to see him for a couple months, and that hurt. He always put time aside to help me. Even though we weren't living in the same household, there was always that me and Dad time. And I started to not get that. However, once my stepdad was introduced into my life, he finally filled the void that I felt wasn't there. He was there with me throughout every homework session I had. He was always there telling me, Alex, you can do this. These are your strengths, now use them. He's the reason why I kept motivating myself to be happy for my mom, because I knew he was the one thing that kept my mom happy. He's taught me to grow as a person, as a student, as a daughter. Without my stepdad guiding me throughout my life and throughout my childhood, I would definitely not be the person I am today. I still miss my dad, so there were always times I set aside to Skype with him, and those were the greatest. I'd be like, okay, I have to make sure everything's done. I want to show Dad like I'm doing good. I want to make him proud. So he'd have a smile and not feel disappointed that he's gone. And I realized schoolwork is what's going to drive me. It's going to drive me to make him happy. If my stepdad can sit with me, I'm going to do this. This is going to be for me and for my dad and for my mom. So I guess once I got my grades together and I would show my dad and he'd feel happy, it made me happy. Just like when I was younger and my mom would need help, I would always try to help her to make her happy. So I think I was always trying to spread myself to show people love. So when my mom was in need of help, I would help her. When I felt my dad was alone, I wanted to show him as much love as I could, as much like achievement, accomplishments I could give him, So he would feed back that same positive energy, and it would just make me happy.
On a ship, I wrote this song for you. I made it all for you, for all the innocent things you do. On a plane, I wrote these lyrics too, just 'cause I thought of you and all the fun things that we do. It's not fair when you make me feel this way. It's not fair. It's not fair when you make me feel this way. No one could ever see you like I do. It's not fair when you make me feel this way. It's not fair. It's not fair when you make me feel this way.
I guess in general, divorce cases are different. Many kids think it's their fault, or they just think it's the end of the world. No kid should think that. They should think, how can I make my family feel happy? So I would just tell every child, you need to think positively. Don't think it's your fault. Don't try to lash out. You're just gonna make things worse. You're gonna make yourself feel bad and your parents feel bad. You just need to think, if I do good within myself, you'll achieve. The entire divorce won't even faze you. It's just gonna be another bump in the road. It's not gonna be what broke you, it's gonna be what made you.
It's not fair how you make me feel this way. It's not fair. It's not fair how you make me feel this way. No one could ever see you like I do. It's not fair when you make me feel this way. It's not fair. It's not fair when